4, 3, 2, 1. Hey there, guys. I am on with RonAlford. I'm going to go ahead and read his professional bio. We're going to talk a little bit about his professional career and what's going on in his life now. And then we're also going to go ahead and turn over to what's going on in his personal life and as a father. So RonAlford is a Southwestern Consulting partner, team leader, sales, and leadership coach for Southwestern Consulting. He's a former regional sales director for the Southwestern Company, recruiting, training, mentoring, and managing over 600 salespeople for over 20 years. He's currently the company record holder, personally achieved the highest level of weekly sales, 70-plus times with Southwestern. 6-time Sales Manager of the Year with Southwestern. He's also the leadership record holder, coached and trained more top 1% producer than any other manager in the 160-year-old Southwestern history. Personally coached and trained 6 of the top 10 lifetime salespeople in the history of Southwestern. Number 3, lifetime producer out of over 150,000 salespeople from the Southwestern Company history. And to top it all off, Ron's also an ultra marathon enthusiast, recently completing his first 100-mile trail running race, which I definitely want to hit on that too when we get all into it. So, I mean, some awesome stuff, man. So pretty amazing. Pretty excited to have you on. Thanks for joining. Why don't we, after that lead-in, why don't we just kind of start with something awesome happening today for you?
Today? Oh,
yeah, today. What kind of amazing things are happening like right now?
Yeah, I'll talk about a coaching call. Just Kevin Hawes, right before I got to talk to you. Kevin Hawes is in Sacramento and a big regional director for Precision Medical Products, and just had a great call. He's going through a little bit of a tougher season professionally, and I've been coaching with Kevin 2.5 years, and to me, it's the seasons, right? And that's, of course, I'm sure we'll talk about more with fatherhood as well, but just seasons of everything. And he's been blessed. His business has thrived. He's an incredible leader, but he's going through a little bit of a tougher time. And so on our coaching call today, we got to just be still and try to just open up. Okay, what's the point of this? What's God speaking to us? And, what direction are we being led? And we got kind of deeper than usual. Like usually it's more just hammering, bringing on a new assistant or how to keep his people accountable or his schedule, some accountability stuff, et cetera. But today we got a little deeper in the life, and that's why I do what I do. So.
Does you find that, so let's talk a little bit about, that sounds awesome. Kevin's lucky, I'm sure, to have you as a coach. Let's talk a little bit about like how you got into the coaching profession and, a little bit about the joys, like you said, just kind of being able to do that job. I mean, kind of having those calls and getting deep into life and having a conversation with somebody can really kind of be uplifting for yourself as well.
Mm-hmm. Amen. Yeah. Well, you hit it spot on. I mean, selfishly, that's what gives me life and makes me energized to be around my kids and my family and my wife. And, it's feeling like I'm making an impact. So the coaching calls are quite selfish. So I just, the short answer to your question, and you can kind of dig deeper if you want. 24 years ago, was a military kid in Alaska. We came back from Alaska to Washington, and I got this crazy summer internship with Southwestern, started selling educational books door to door, and ended up hating it. I mean, face-to-face rejection is, I think we could all agree that sucks. But I was just so intrigued by this and so challenged and so fascinated by the mental aspect. So much of the training that goes into it is, technical scripting and product knowledge and language and everything. But I was just very intrigued by the mental side, and ended up having a good summer and saved enough money to pay for a little Christian school called Seattle Pacific, and decided to come back for a second summer. And that's when I brought a team of 5 friends with me. And that was the first time I'd ever experienced anything involving leadership and like where it's not about me. It's like, no matter how my day went, I got to be there for these guys. I got to support them and encourage them and kick them in the butt when they need it. And that's the short version of what kind of led me into this and helped me realize I just love any type of coaching or mentorship, training, whatever you want to call it.
I got you. So you go through, you do this first year of Southwest Consulting. And what you're selling, you're going door to door, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. You're going door to door.
This was the summer internship version of Southwestern. So back when, Rory, Elise, I mean, a lot of us we kind of cut our teeth by selling educational books in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
I was in that side of Southwestern for 20 years.
Right.
And helped manage a lot of campuses on the West Coast in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then 4 years ago was just traveling too much with my kids. And so that's when I shifted over to Southwestern Consulting.
Okay.
Which is more the speaking and coaching division. So it has nothing to do with the educational products anymore. Now it's all about coaching salespeople and leaders.
Right. So initially you do it for the first summer and you hate it, but you figure you make enough money. I'm just curious how you got 5 other people to come along and do something that you hated. Right? Like, hey, how's that speech go? Guys, I got something that I really hate doing, but let's go do it.
You want to come with me? And that's the way I was recruited. It's, so and you hit it. I just being authentic, right? I think being very straightforward, and we all love people that are raw and real, and and this is not for everybody. This is going to appeal to someone that thinks long-term, that doesn't mind getting their butt kicked in the short term to really try to set themselves up for future, more opportunities in the future. And so believe me, to have those 5 come with me, I had a heck of a lot more that said, hell no, good luck. I'll be at home landscaping or, lifeguarding or whatever the typical summer jobs are. So it's a numbers game.
Sure.
Right. And I just, that was a big lesson for me as well in sales and in recruiting and leadership is just, it's all about finding the fit. And a lot of people knew what we did, but obviously you tried to find the ones that really called them. And those are the ones that came with us.
Gotcha. Was there any, were you able to determine kind of right after you met somebody, like if they were in or out, or were there some that really excelled that you didn't think were going to make it?
True to both. Yeah, absolutely. You usually, especially as years went by, instincts kicked in and you could kind of tell just by seeing someone's, if they had the surfacey answers or, when you'd be going, because we would interview them at the career centers at UC Berkeley, UCLA, all these schools. And you could tell a lot of times the ones that just, they needed to do a little bit more of a laid back job for that summer.
Okay.
But every now and then, heck yeah, you'd get surprised. And my good buddy, my colleague that I worked with for years, Nate and I, we never told any of our students this, but we always had our pre-summer bet.
Okay.
We'd pick 5 each that we thought would be the superstars. And I tell you what, we were wrong half the time.
Really?
Yep.
So what was like your over under? What do you per year? What do you think how do you think you did?
I think it was just, you try to tell, at first you just think of people that have the talent, right? Like, okay, they're extroverted, they're good with people, they connect, they light up a room, they're so confident with their answers, and you're just impressed by that. And you think, oh man, they speak a good game. Mm-hmm. And you just realize you can't tell grit. You can't read that deeper, what's inside someone, and unfortunately my mistake, obviously, I wasn't able to get to know some of these guys as deeply before the summer started to make a prediction. Now, once you get to know them and see their roots, you get to meet their family, you see the product of how they were raised and their principles and what they believe in and what their version of commitment is, what their loyalty is, what they really believe about resilience and things like that.
And this is college students, right?
You bet.
Okay.
But I'll tell you what, and this is what's funny, Brandon, and it was college students, but it's you and me. I'm in my mid 40s now and I got 3 kids and it's no different with my peers now.
Okay.
A lot of people I'll meet that are real estate, mortgage, financial advisors, running their own businesses, whatever, that same things I just mentioned, but you can't see that inner, the inner qualities until you really get to know someone.
Right.
Shine. Like you can overcome, and we, I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir, but you can overcome a technical handicap, or maybe I'm not quite as salesy or this or that any day of the week when you got the mental fortitude.
Right. Something else to make up for it at the very least in another spot. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You bet.
I had a question for you, and but before I do, Ron, real quick, let's talk about because I was thinking about you today, and one of the things I really appreciated, and it's easy to see for me, kind of how you got to the level that you got to, because our back and forth and setting this up, I mean, you were very, I think I'd have to say you're probably one of the most detail oriented and one of the most trying to be prepared for this, and in a good way, right? Like, but to me, like, that made me feel like, well, man, I feel if I was one of your customers, I felt like I was getting all your attention, right? And that felt really good. And I've gone through the Southwestern Consulting part of it, and I was thinking to myself of your Navigate system, right? So I'm just curious. We can share a little bit. Navigate system similar to DISC, but not quite, right? Yeah. And just kind of the different selling styles. You've got the detective, the fighter, the entertainer, and is the last one consultant?
Counselor. There
it is. So they all have their varying degrees. Would you mind just telling me what yours was?
Yeah, I don't mind at all. I was entertainer. Well, I am entertainer / counselor.
All right. Okay.
But for years, I actually tracked out more as an entertainer fighter.
Okay.
And I think since I've had kids and gotten more in my role now, I think, God's kind of humbled me a lot. I'm putting me on my knees, and I've lost a little bit of the fighter. I'm actually trying to stoke that fighter sometimes a little more. Just the competitive side, but the counselor is more where you just love to listen and understand and support. So yeah.
I felt counselor. And so that I was just curious. I was curious to see how close I was on that. And
you were spot on.
All right, man. Then the training paid off so far, at least in some respect, right? When you want to talk about any of the aspects of, like, your 6-time sales manager of the year, I mean, kind of how that felt, how you got there, what it was. We talk about determination, grit. What are some of the pieces that made you excel so well?
Yeah. Okay. So without trying to be too cliche, I really, and you even referred to this a minute ago, I just really believe in living in the moment, and whoever I'm with, like, you got everything. There's not a thing in the world going on outside of me talking to you and whatever message is conveyed to whoever might receive it. And just really being compartmentalized. And then when this is over, boom, that brain shift. And a lot of those things you read about my bio is just because I stuck around a long time. It's not that I was any more
last man standing.
You got it. Yeah. I just was.
Just happens to be me.
Couldn't get rid of me. And that's back to that 100-mile race. I mean, I'm not going to win any 5Ks, but I'll keep going.
Right.
I will not stop. And so that's one thing is I would, to answer your question, I really do believe in being a finisher and being a man of consistency and being a man who follows through. And just, I show up. There's no bad days. I mean, everything that we go through makes me a little bit stronger and a little more enabled to hopefully serve better. And I think that's, any of those things you read were just a product of being in the moment, and then it adding up over time, it compounding, if you will, over time.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. And I can't lie. There's a guy. I remember this guy on the East Coast, up in the Northeast. They call them the Wawa, right? It's kind of like your 7-Elevens or whatever.
Yeah.
Still remember to this day. It was like this guy walking in there. He goes, "Never had a bad day." And so then when you said, I've never had a bad, just reminded me of him. And man, just speak to that a little bit. Like, I mean, never had a bad day. How do you feel like you can say that? Like, I feel like I can say that from time to time. I do say it. I speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, I think it's semantics probably. It's how we define bad or how we view perspective. I always felt like if there's one thing I can provide to the students I worked with, or now coaching clients that are, some of them are a lot older than me or sure earn more than I do or whatever. We all need perspective. And I just, a little of my story with my kids and just some of that where life is just crazy. And so a bad day, I don't even really know what that means. And I'm not really all about being positive either. It's more just like, we do the best with what we have, and every day adds up. Like, if we're here for a purpose, it's funny because yesterday I came home and my wife, how was your day? And we talked through and this is just very vivid because it was last night. I've got a bunch of things going right now where I'm on the 5-yard line, but I'm not scoring the touchdown yet. And it's like, that little competitive side's like, frustrated.
Right.
Doesn't mean it's a bad day. It just means it's part of this journey.
Sure.
And so I think I'm just trying to keep that perspective, never getting too high, never getting too low, just trying to,
keep an even keel.
Yeah, the best I can.
Absolutely.
You bet.
Well, I love it. I mean, it sounds mostly like grit, a lot of commitment and fortitude, right? Just real quick, give me we'll flip it over to the personal side. And again, I'm just gonna I didn't commit this to memory, so I'm just gonna read off your personal bio real quick, and I got a couple quick questions for you on that, and then we'll just dump into what I feel is like probably a couple of the big ones on the personal side. So, you're 43 years old, wife is Desiree, been married for 6 months, which was a little shocker to me, but you give the rest of the story. 4 years ago, unexpectedly got divorced after an 11-year marriage and having twin boys. Stayed 100% single for 3 years, not even one date. That's something.
Right.
Dedicated all time to my faith, my boys, my business, and trail running. Finally went on first date and married that same girl, Desiree, and have adopted her 5-year-old girl who's never met her biological father. That's an interesting piece as well. So Desiree and I are a blended family, 3 kids. The twin boys are 8 and daughter is 5. They love each other. You sent me this blog, which we'll go over that, but talks about the battle that you're in the midst of right now. And you've got your business, which is going amazing. You have 10 coaches on your team, coaches like Elise Archer, she's awesome. And you do a mix of speaking, training, and coaching, and leading this team. Your faith is everything. Same with Desiree, very spiritual and strong. You said quote unquote believers. You may want to elaborate there on that one for me. And your trail ultra running is where you go worship, cope, and draw inspiration, vent, and push yourself to 2 different levels. Awesome. There's so your story on the your blog that you spoke about, right? I'm just going to jump right into that one, right? This happens to be like your art. You go to a triathlon out in Hawaii, and it's in support of leukemia. You're one of the only people that doesn't have any direct involvement with leukemia at this point. And this is the first triathlon you've ever done too, right?
Correct.
Is this a full-on triathlon? I got to ask.
Olympic distance.
Okay. And I'm asking because I'm doing one in a couple of months.
Nice.
Myself. So, and listen, it's not just exercise anymore. It is training.
Mm-hmm.
So you start. So I hadn't trained. So and then you got to raise some money. You fell in love with the running portion. Let's just talk about it. And so then take it from there for me, will you? Because I mean this and get to the end for me and share, because I just feel it's going to come a lot stronger from you.
Oh, wow. Well, you captured me there. I, to be honest, forgot I had sent you all that. And so that was about a month ago. I didn't realize I had shared all that. So that triathlon, I guess just to speak to that part first, I probably, like a lot of the listeners, had been raised, and my only sports experience was just football, baseball, basketball, kind of the team sports. And I'd never done any real individual sport or anything that was more endurance related. And I don't really even know why. That's still to this day the intriguing part. But I just literally remember going in an athletic store and seeing a little Leukemia and Lymphoma Society ad or brochure, and it talked about these races you could do. And I was like, triathlon. I've never even thought about that. And it just sounded, I was older. I wasn't, this was probably 14 years ago. So I was 30-ish, and I wasn't even, wasn't playing any competitive sports. So I thought this could be a cool way to keep that competitiveness and like you said, training but I didn't really understand what it meant to raise $6,500 to do this. And then to go with this team to Kona, Hawaii. And And then I also didn't have the personal side. I knew people that had it. I've obviously knew people that had cancer and that had passed of cancer, but not specifically leukemia or lymphoma. And so long story short, worked hard, raised the money, worked hard, trained, did the race, flew to Kona, did the race, fell in love with the running side of it. Just the pure, raw, you need nothing. Like the biking was neat, the swimming was neat, but running, I always have at least 4 pair of shoes in my truck. And I don't need anything else. I mean, obviously a pair of shorts and, sometimes I got my watch.
Right.
But it's just, I can go hit a trail, I can go hit the mountains, and it's just so raw. And it's so, like I said, just that's my place where I can kind of unwind and leave my phone and just praise God and just think and be creative and think about my clients, obviously think about my goals and for sure my family. And so that race was really monumental, going to do that because it led me to something that I really have loved ever since. And that's just pouring into running and then expanding on the distances and the types of races and all that. And then come full circle, to this past year where the word leukemia meant a lot more, to my family.
Right. I mean, tell us about that.
So
first of all, again, I'm just going to reframe it again that you go and you do this race about 14 years ago. You've got at that point ties to leukemia. You're just like, I'm going to go do this thing.
Yep.
And flash forward to here we go, August 2nd, right?
You got it. Yeah. So, the way I was raised is, my parents do prison ministry. They're just all about somehow impacting and being able to, so the thought of raising money for a good cause was just, that's in me. Like if it can help, but I didn't have that personal side to it. And, always look back at that. It's just like, wow, it's crazy how the lessons aren't revealed in the moment so often. And we don't realize, and I'll never forget. It was last summer. So I had, I guess now speaking to the divorce part, 4 years ago, had a very sudden divorce and so, pretty suddenly was a single dad with my twin boys. And,
I don't know. I mean, do you want to share? Because when you say sudden divorce, I'm just that for me makes me curious. But again, you don't have to talk to that part at all if you don't want to.
I think unexpected is probably the better word.
Okay.
Just never could have seen that coming. Like to me, as I've already told you, I'm loyal probably to a fault. I've been with the same company 24 years. I'm not ever going to leave.
Where are you going? Well, it's not going anywhere.
Right. I do 100-mile races. I'm not going to stop.
Right.
So,
right.
That's the way I viewed marriage even more. Obviously, it was just sacred. It was something that, especially once I've got these kids that,
right.
I'm the example for. So it was just unexpected.
Okay.
And it was hard. I'm not, obviously not unique, but just the way it hit me was it kind of almost just like silenced me and just froze. And it was like, I'm just going to pour into. That was also at the same time I left Southwestern, where I had been 20 years, that division of Southwestern,
right,
and came on to Southwestern Consulting. So I was starting a brand new job after 20 years and single after 11 years. And
being a single dad?
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
With twins. Twin boys.
The twins were 4. Exactly. So
At
for
4.
me,
okay. Crazy times.
Mm-hmm. So for me, just, I'm going to devote everything to my boys.
Yeah.
Obviously my faith and just building this business. I'm going to start over from scratch, scare the heck out of me. And just but I'm going to start over from scratch. Whatever my income was, when you come into this job, you start over, and it's 100% commission, and you build. And no one gives a crap what you did for 20 years. You're a rookie.
What have you done for me lately?
You got it. So that was a scary time, but it was just really, and that's where I didn't plan to not date, but it just kind of felt right. It just felt like, I want to say I don't have time, because I hate that phrase, but I just kind of made a choice that priorities weren't there. Just again, a season. And when when I meet someone, I'll meet someone. I want it to happen naturally. I'm not going to go look. I'm not going to go on dating sites or try to go meet people or this or that. So that's how that happened. And I ended up meeting Desiree through a coaching client. Mm-hmm. So fast forward roughly 3 years later, a great guy, good friend, guy named Tyler that I coach. At the end of a coaching call, he says, "Hey, I got this. My wife and I have this girl that we think you should meet. She's a single mom, and we just think she'd be a great girl for you to meet." And I said, "No, thanks. I'm not there." I said, "Thanks though. Thanks for thinking of me, but I'm just not there." And then 2 weeks later on our next coaching call, we have a great coaching call. At the very end, same thing. Like, "Hey man, are you more open to meeting this girl? Like, we think you should be."
Right.
So I say, "No, thanks." It wasn't for a few calls where finally he says, "Look, man, she runs her own little business. Worst case, just talk to her and sell her coaching. Like, view it as a sales opportunity."
Right.
And that kind of intrigued me. So I was like, "Oh, yeah, good point." Good point. It's a prospecting meeting,
Sure.
not a match setup.
Right.
So it was really cool. We went and had coffee and just obviously got to know her, and the rest is history, as they say. That's who I married. So this leads into where I'm going with this is we met in November, and we're getting closer in January, February, March, April, getting closer. Her 5-year-old daughter, 4 at the time, and my twin boys, who were 7 at the time, hit it off, love each other. So the 5 of us start doing a lot together. Me and my boys, her and her daughter. And come July, we finally went on a family trip. Like the 5 of us went on a trip. I mean, we weren't family yet. She still was living where she lived, and I was living where I lived. We weren't living together. And we came back from this trip, and within the next 2 weeks, my one of my twins, his name is Van, his face was swollen. He was just a little off. He wasn't. So his mom took him to, hospital, doctor, got him some antibiotics, this and that. A couple weeks later, they think he's having an allergic reaction to shellfish. It's probably my fault because I gave him crabs and oysters and all the, we were doing all these different things. And but it's still not fixing it. So try another antibiotic. We still don't know. So, and I still have the voicemail on my phone of the morning of August 2nd, where Van and his mom are going to drive to Seattle Children's Hospital.
Right.
Just to go check with the real professionals. Like, just what's wrong? I'm sure they're going to find something out. No biggie. Give him a different type of antibiotic and take care of this. And he voicemailed me. He left me a voicemail that I still have on the drive to the hospital. Van did. He's a 7-year-old boy. And just saying, "Hey, Daddy, I just, I feel good. I just can't wait to see you, and I'm feeling really good. We're going to go to the hospital and everything's going to be great. And talk to you soon. I love you." And they did an x-ray on him and, all that. And then like by about 10 or 11 that night, they're still there, about 10 that night. And his mom calls me and I'm with Desiree. Desiree's with me at my house, and we get the phone call. And they're still not sure, but they think this could be something more serious. In the x-ray, they've seen a mass. Well, around 11 o'clock, I get another call back, and literally just 3 words: Van has leukemia. And I'll obviously never forget that moment of just Desiree right there with me, getting the phone call. And to hear that, and it was weird because it didn't really hit me till the next day, but just that word leukemia that I still didn't know a lot about, but I remember that race, and I remember raising all that money for leukemia, and it being something that race kind of altered a lot of my life.
Right.
And now it hits home because obviously my little guy's got it. And we're like any ignorant couple where Desiree and I are just Googling it and what does it really mean and what are his chances and asking all those normal questions. And just the next morning we wake up, or not really sleeping the night, just crying and obviously praying, and we had to talk, and I just canceled all my meetings and drove up to the hospital, and that started that journey. So
and that's something that's still going on right now?
Correct. Yeah, he's just passed the 11-month mark. August 2nd will be a year of this year, and we're doing great. I mean, he'll be great. It's just every week is a little different. There's setbacks, and of course, the ripple effect of it's Van, the things he deals with and all of his reactions to chemo and all the stuff he has to go through, and just missing school and missing sports and not being able to go to restaurants or church or be around the water or whatever. But it's also how it affects his twin brother, and then now his little sister.
So how are they taking it? How do they view it? Or is it,
like, I can't put it into words how great those kids have been. And I think that's probably the part that makes me the most emotional, because, they're like PK, his twin, Paxton Clive is his name. PK's birthday, their birthday is April 9th, Van and PK. And, we wanted to have birthday parties for him. And it's just, obviously, last minute, Van had something happened where he was in the hospital for 11 days, and we just had to cancel their birthdays. Right. And that's just an example of, he hasn't been able to play sports, or he's not going to restaurants, or he's not, because we can't leave Van at home and take PK to do all these fun things.
Right.
As much as, so for this guy as a 7-year-old and then now an 8-year-old, how much it's affected him, but he is just spot on, been just a star. And it's so cool to think how much is this is going to help him have compassion for people, and just empathize with people, and realize that like us all as kids. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, it's all about me. I don't care what it is. Right.
I'm not sure things have changed, but I think having kids for me was like the game changer. That was probably the biggest impact for me. And this is one of the things that I love about you guys, your consulting company. Every one of you that I've talked to from the coaching company, from Southwest Consulting, has been like a servant leader, has been, really put service first. And just I view that for anybody that hasn't had children, that's still kind of in their selfish sense, that I view children as kind of like the gateway to being, that service leadership, right?
Yeah.
And when you're seeing your children react and just be so awesome, that just fills your heart so much, man. You can probably float away on that, right?
Yeah. You're exactly right. It just, everything has more meaning, because we can all do lip service to what servanthood means and servant leadership and all these terms, but you're right. For any of us that are parents, or when it hits home where it really isn't about me, well, most of us don't learn that as much till we're parents. Well, PK and Hartley, Van's siblings, man, they're learning about this at an age where it's just crazy. Like Hartley as well. She's 5. This little girl's 5 years old. And, we're on weekends we can't go out to eat. You just, little stuff that we know will pass, but for a 5-year-old, they don't have perspective. The whole world is today. I can't, why can't I go ride my bike? Why can't I go play?
Talk about living in the now, right? That's the other beauty of children. They don't know anything other than the now.
Yeah, you got it. So just, a few weeks ago, I live in Seattle, and just Desiree's family, they do a traditional Mother's Day Mariners game. And, where all the cousins, of course, all the cousins are going, and it's fun, and it's, we can't do that stuff right now.
Right.
And it's just, we will eventually, right. But we're not. And so for Van to learn how to cope with it and be okay, but then also had the effect that it's had on brother and sister. I love that they're going through this. I mean, it's weird to say it, but
right.
Just like anything in life, when we can kind of switch the lens and see it differently, it's probably the neatest thing that could ever happen to the 2 siblings.
Okay.
With Van, obviously, man, same thing, hopefully. Hopefully we'll see how he responds to all this, but I'm
sure he'll come through with it. Sure he'll come through with it. I love the other thing too. It's at the bottom of your first of all, the RonAlford coaching deep incidences, which is where you've already got most of the story posted. I just want to make sure that the audience kind of knows that as well. I love the bottom there. Think finishing a triathlon is tough. And then at the bottom, it just says try chemotherapy. And I read that. I first saw it today. I read part of the bio earlier, but that hit me in the gut. I'm like, yeah, that's that's something else, right?
Yeah.
How about a little bit of the adoption, and you know, having her be part of the family, and not knowing her, having met her biological. I'm curious about why. Is there a reason she never met her biological father, or is this something happened? Um, and that does we don't, again, that's not something that has to go into detail. We could also just kind of talk about, like, what it's like to bring in another child that's not your own into your circle, and how that goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the full circle side of this story, I'll keep it short, but, so with Hartley, he just disappeared. Her biological dad just disappeared, and obviously just wanted to have no part of it. And, it was his choice. And, I can see her every morning and every night and during the day. And just obviously you as a father as well, just be like, how could any parent, right? So she's never met him. She's never had a male presence in her life. So that's been a challenge. It's been, she's always had mom to herself. Desiree and Hartley were the dynamic duo. They were just an awesome team, and had their own struggles like everyone, but overall we're doing really well. But to now have this person enter her life that is taking attention away from mom, and also just another, like a male figure that she's never had. So it's been the coolest thing in the world. And it's also presented challenges and just growing pains. The part for me that's so crazy, and for Desiree, when we first met and we're kind of getting to know each other, when I was a little boy, it was just me and my mom. I never met my dad. I was 4, and my mom and I met. Well, she met a guy that had 2 older boys, and they married. And it's just crazy. I still have never met my biological father, but I have the best dad I could ever have. Like the dad I have is my dad, and that's the man that I met when I was 4 who adopted me.
Right. Okay.
And so that side of it is, again, just eerie. You see, I don't know how much of your audience is spiritual or not, but to me, you see God's hand at play in everything. And, for me to go through that, and then now maybe be a little bit more sensitive to Hartley going through it.
Sure. Yeah.
And Desiree going through it. It's pretty crazy. So
yeah, it almost mimics yourself, right? As you grow up, which is, that's awesome.
Yep.
I know we got just a couple moments left. So 2 things, and we'll wrap it up so we can let you get going. And again, thanks for coming on today, Ron. It's been awesome having you here with us. Something that you would tell your children 10 years from now if they pick this up.
What do you mean if they pick this up?
If they picked up this audio, right? If they picked up this video, and like you're talking to them 10 years from now.
Yeah.
I'd say to them.
Just words of wisdom I'd tell my kids?
Sure. And what would you like them to hear 10 years from now?
Yeah. Oh, gotcha. So they're going to pick this up and they're going to watch this in 10 years. I gotcha. Man, I live for them, and all the stupid things I do, hopefully they can learn from it. But no, just that. I just think, man, give everything. Like, to me, I feel like I used to be a lot more reserved, and now it's like, I'm going to put my guts on the line and try to be fearless. I can't say I am fully fearless, but just try to be fearless and try to live with what you think is right. And then be okay with that. And everybody's going to judge. Everybody's going to have an opinion, we can't please everyone, but I think that's probably the biggest message I'd say is, you don't have to please everyone. We have an audience of one we have to please, and that's our Creator. That's who we have to please. And if these little kids remember that, man, the rest is cake.
Right on. Right on. And one thing that you wish you had known, or one thing that you would tell any parent, dad, up and coming, right? Or, like I said, one thing you wish you'd known starting off as a dad.
Yeah. So I'd say 2 things. Number 1, get ready. Cause it's, there's no parenting book. There's no, so much of our business coaching, of course, it blends into life stuff, and it's about emotional preparation. You can be prepared for how to change diapers and how to have the right alarm clock to keep your kids sleep longer or cry less or whatever, share more, all these things we want our kids to be. but get ready, because there's no book that's gonna. But it's just, man, if you can roll with it, and I just think almost like the same message I left for my kids a second ago is pretty equal. I would just say, man, at the end of the day, we're not going to be perfect, but we're here to do our best. We like, it's already been foretold. We're sinners. We're mistake, from Adam and Eve up to us, we're full of mistakes, but man, be real, be raw. And then kids love that. That's the biggest thing I'd say is like I was so worried when I went through that divorce that what if my kids judge me for this? What if they, what will they think?
Right. Yeah.
I failed them as a dad. And it was just, that's so deep. And you know what? They're going to be great. The kids will be fine. And it's, kids forgive everybody. But if I can be real and be honest with them about it, and just, man, their dad's not perfect. But he puts his guts on the line and his heart into things. That's what I'd say to any new father as well, or any father, period.
Perfect, Ron. And all right, Ron, anybody looking for you online, where should we send them? Where are they going to find you? What's the best way to get in touch with you?
I mean, I'm not the best on RonAlfordCoach.com or just on LinkedIn. Honestly, LinkedIn is probably best. Just Ron Alford with Southwestern Consulting. Perfect, man. Thanks again for coming on, Ron. And, I hope you're going to have an awesome weekend. Appreciate you, Brandon. Thanks for what you do, man. Hey, thank you. Thank you. It's just an absolute pleasure, to be honest with you. Awesome.